everyone, my name is Caitlin, and if you don't know me, I'm a Midwest artist who loves to read. And in today's video, I'm talking about books. During the summer in Iowa, there's a fun challenge that went on. It was the Iowa Indie Bookstore Passport Challenge, where there was a whole bunch of different bookstores that you can go to. You get a stamp at their location, and it gets you an entry to the grand prize giveaway that they have going on. And I decided to go to as many of the bookstores as I possibly can. It was fun going on little road trips to different places I've never been to. I love seeing a cute small Iowa town. It's like my bread and butter. It's so nice. I love it. So this was a great excuse for me to go do some day trips to other places around Iowa. I'm going to show clips of the places I went to. I'm also going to talk about some of the books and other things I purchased from these locations, and at the end I'll give a top 3 ranking favorite bookstores that I went to, and just keep in mind this is very subjective, right? Every bookstore has a person that they love. They have their own people that they go to, that they serve to, and this is my own opinions, right? It made me realize when I was going to all these different bookstores how a collection, what collection that they have there, can really determine if it became a personal favorite of mine. But it doesn't mean that it's if I don't like the place, it's not a bad collection. It's just not the collection that's suited specifically for my needs. So just keep that in mind when I'm sharing my favorites and stuff like that. All right, so the first bookstore I'm going to talk about, it's my bread and butter. It's my local indie bookstore. It's Dog-Eared Books in Ames. I love Dog-Eared. It's my favorite bookstore, indie bookstore ever. I just love the comfortable vibes inside of it. I love their collection. There's always something whenever I go there. Honestly, I go there weekly because they do have a good selection of discounted books, so I always make a point to check it every week. But they have such a great collection there, lots of variety to it. It's I always feel welcomed going to that bookstore, whether it's just for me browsing or I say hi to some of the booksellers that run the book clubs that I go to, things like that, right? So I love Dog-Eared, and I go there all the time, and that's where I got my initial passport from them. Since this was the beginning of summer, and I wasn't initially thinking I was gonna do this kind of video, I don't remember what book I bought from them, but just know I buy books from there all the time. It's still my favorite. All right, the next place I went to on a different date is I went to Oskaloosa, to their book vault. I wanted to go there for this travel day. That was the main goal, was to go to the book vault, because it's basically a bookstore that's set inside an old bank vault, and duh, that's so cool, right? I had a very pleasant time in Oskaloosa. I had those very nice small town Main Street vibes that I adore so deeply. I had a sandwich and a coffee at a coffee shop pretty nearby it. It was quite delicious. I read my little book there. Beautiful. And then I went inside the book vault, and it was such a pretty store. Like many of these smaller town bookstores out there in Iowa, they kind of have to be a catch-all just in order to sustain themselves as a business, right? Which, no fault to them. You gotta do what you gotta do. So there's a whole bunch of not just books there. They had cooking supplies, I think maybe gardening, a whole bunch of other things, gifts and stuff like that, in order to be more of a well-rounded store. And the thing that I got there was this tumbler glass, you see here, that has some books on it. I think that perfectly encapsulates the book vault for me. When I bought it there, the bookseller there was just oh, I forgot we had those. Those are pretty cool. I'm just yeah, they are pretty cool. And I've drank out of it a few times, and I always adore it. It's really nice. It's good quality. It's just cute. Next up, I went to the Curiosity Shop in Pella. I've actually been there once before. I went there during tulip time during this year, so I kind of had an idea of what the bookshop was like. It's quite small. It does have a nice size like kids section. I think that's more of the draw there. They do have some adult books, and downstairs they have lots of games and puzzles and stuff like that. Seeing all the different types of puzzles and things like that were very nice. It's like fun just to look at the different kinds out there. This is like one of those bookstores that unfortunately the collection that they had there at their store, like nothing quite appealed to me. So I did buy when I was there, oh, in order to get a stamp you have to buy something. Duh. That makes sense. I got this really nice like basic brown journal. What drew me in was the dot paper, but then I can like easily make it flat. So I thought it would be great to do my journal spreads with something like this. Okay, so the next place I went to, I can't recall if I did it on that same day as the other two stores or not. Whatever, is I went to my second favorite bookstore out there. It's the Storyhouse Bookpub in the like basically the East Village in Des Moines, and I love them. It's like so packed full of books. They have a collection that like really speaks to me there. I always find something new and great whenever I go shopping there. Also just like have fun in the East Village. It's just like a nice inviting community. I specifically wanted to go there for the passport, but also because they had a new youth section there. So what I found was the Tatami Galaxy by Tomohiko Morimi. My frame of reference is that they made like an anime based off of this book, but it's basically one of those like weird like books with misfit characters and stuff like that. And since I found it used, I was like, well, you know what, let me enjoy that, let me experience that weirdness. So I'm excited to read it. Next up in the central Des Moines area is The Little Book, which is more of a newer bookstore in that area. It specifically caters more towards kids and youth items, though since I last was there, they like heavily expanded their adult section, which I'm so thankful for. Though I do love, they have a really great selection of graphic novels there, so if you're a graphic novel fan, I would highly recommend you go to that place. And again, same thing of like really nice designed items like that they sell there, really nice comfortable vibes. Every time I go there, I'm just like, oh, this is really nice, I'm enjoying myself. And I got a sticker there that says queer coded villain. Isn't it cool? And I never seen a sticker like this, and I'm just like, I need this in my life. Another huge favorite of mine is Beaverdale Books in Beaverdale. I love Beaverdale Books. I find so many great books there that I have like I'm not aware of, that I just have so much fun like browsing the collection there. It very much has like that like old school, like nice casual indie bookstore feel. There's a lot of I love like a nice highly curated, highly designed interior for like a bookstore, but this is like the classic, like we have some worn shelves, it's like a nice like green inside, like it's just comfortable and it makes me feel like at home there. And I just can't help myself, and I usually find like several books whenever I shop at Beaverdale Books. And the two that I got, one is Actor Age Eve Brown, which I was specifically on the hunt for that day because I recently finished up the audiobook for it and I fell in love with it. It's like the third book in the Brown Sisters trilogy, starring Eve Brown, and like her journey to becoming independent. And I loved it. It was really great. I love the neurodiverse cast in it. I thought the conversations in it were very enlightening, so it's a new pick for me. And then I was just browsing the shelves there, and I got this book called Whipping Girl, a transsexual woman on sexism and the scapegoating of femininity. Here's the cover of it. I've never heard of this book before, but it's like I read the first few pages of it and I was just like, wow, I feel like I'm gonna learn so much from this book. I think this is like a newer edition of it. I think it came out, it's more of an older book, but a newer edition of it. On the back it says it was named one of the 100 best nonfiction books of all time by Ms. Magazine. So that kind of highlights to you what the scope of this book is about. All right, so next up is my day trip to Iowa City. I've never, well, that's a lie. I've been to Iowa City once before, but it was like for like a brief moment. I went to a live show of Welcome to Night Vale with a friend of mine there. It was like at night. We didn't really do anything in Iowa City other than that during that time. But I discovered I really do like Iowa City. It has like that same like college town feel to it like it does here in Ames, but there's it seems to be a little bit more going on. It feels more like a city there than it does here in the suburbs of Ames. So I feel like that's like one of those places in Iowa that I could easily move to and feel comfortable there, besides living here in Ames. So there were 3 bookstores in Iowa City. I tried to like plan my journey to like go to hubs that have several bookstores in them to like double dip on some. So that's my plan of action for that. So the first place I went to was, let's see here, Sidekick Coffee and Books, which is a cute, as the name implies, a cute bookstore and coffee shop there. I thought it was it was really nice inside there. I think I remember feeling intimidated a little bit for some reason being in there. I was just more of an anxious mood that day, so I don't know what to tell you. They had a nice selection of books there, and they had like good coffee and things like that, so it was quite good there. So the book I got there was another book I've recently finished on audiobook that I want a physical copy of, and it's Icebreaker by A.O. Graziade. That sounds better. Here's the cover for it. And it's a YA hockey romance, and I kind of enjoyed it a lot more than I was thinking I would. So I can't wait to read this. The same with Dr. H.E. Brown. I just want to like notate it and enjoy it a lot. Yeah. The next place I went to is a new favorite of mine, and it is called the Haunted Bookshop. And this is what I want. Oh my gosh, who keeps calling me? Okay. And like, this is what I want in a used bookstore. It's basically someone's house. It's just someone's house. And I had like lunch like nearby that place at a diner. I think it was like Bluebird Diner or something like that. Very good. I enjoyed it. And then I went over to the house that's right over there. I'm just like, hello, can I come in please? And it is stuffed to the brim of books. I made friends with a cat that's there. I love a bookstore that has a shop pet. It makes the experience so much better. And I found so many good books there when I was browsing the shelves. I spent like a good, at least like 30-45 minutes there just looking at everything and coming up with a nice stack there. It's a little bit too much to like show every single book, but the highlight of it was I found this special edition copy of Seconds by Brian Lee O'Malley, which has this orange cover on it. And I was kind of like shocked like that I found it there. So it's like, wait, is this a special edition? Like not even the regular edition? And it totally was a special edition. So it's like, yeah, I could just totally add that to my collection. It's used, so it's worth it to get it. And underneath the orange dust jacket is like the room layout of the place. And it's so cute, and now it's mine. Okay, and the last place I went to in Iowa City was, let's see here, the name. It's the Captain's Bookshop. This is one of those places where I wasn't quite sure why it was included on the list. It's not quite used, well, it is used books, but it's more like collector's editions of books. So they have like a highly curated, like I think they do auctions, stuff like that. It was quite, I felt intimidated going into the space. I like my nice simple books out there. I don't try to get like special editions, or at least special editions like full price, like with the second one that I got there. It was so stuffed with books. It was like chaotic. Nothing was like shelved like cleanly. At that point, I think my anxiety was getting the best of me. At the end of the day, I'm just like, okay, I need to find something and get out. I did, however, have a lovely talk with the shop owner there. It was so nice talking to him, being like, oh yeah, I'm from Ames, I'm doing like a day trip and stuff like that. That was like the highlight of the store, was like talking to him, and that was quite nice. I did look out, and in the stock of everything, it's mostly like those crunchy old books with the like leather covers and stuff like that. It's just like, nothing seems like what I want, except this one. The Body Keeps a Score, which is by Bessel van de Kolk, I think. That's how you say it. So this has been a popular book online. It basically talks about like bodies during like when it experiences trauma and stuff like that, and it has great reviews, and I was glad to find a used copy of this, since I think I'm interested in dipping my toes into it. I don't know if I'm gonna fully enjoy it. It was a nice surprise in that kind of bookstore. This is a new day. And this is one of those day trips where I decided to go and hit up the south part of Iowa. So I made a list, planned my route to try to go as many places as I can in the south area. And I think the first place I went to was actually Pageturners, which is in Indianola. I've been there before. The first time I went there was like for Indie Bookstore Day, and again, it's like one of those rallies to like buy something. You get a stamp and stuff like that. When I first went there, I didn't really find much there on that particular trip, but on the second trip, I was more successful. So I was very pleased with that. I got a used copy, or a bargain copy, of Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle. Which, look at this cover. It's so beautiful. I wish there wasn't a sticker like right there, but it'll be. It's such a beautiful cover, and it's like basically a camp horror book. I do know of like Chuck Tingle and like the work he's done. I think he did like a podcast for a while, and I listened to that, and I thought it was really funny. But his writing is actually like super good too, so I'm very pleased to be able to find this bargain copy of Camp Damascus. Next place I went up to was another new favorite, and well, unfortunately, it is now gone. So the place I'm talking about is That's What She Read, which was a bookstore in Mount Ayr, Iowa, which I've never heard of Mount Ayr before. But this was like one of the reasons why I did this day trip to the south part of Iowa, because I looked at the shop online and I was over the moon with it. It was a romance-only bookstore. The interiors were so cute. I like a nice selection of romance books and items related to that. I went there. I was super excited to be there. I think in hindsight, I sort of realized something was going on. They had all the shop owners had all their kids there because it was the summertime. They were like talking about things with the shop and what they needed to do. It was until like a week or two after that they announced that they're suddenly closing. I'm not sure like rebranding is the right word, but they're changing the operations from like a storefront to like having like a little mobile bookstore. So that's cool. I love that. However, it made me sad because it was like a new favorite bookstore of mine. I just love the vibes in there. Everyone was so friendly in there, even with kids like running around because it's summer and they have nowhere else to go. So anyway, I really enjoyed there. I got two things there. One, I got a sticker from my friend, which if I still have the photo for it, I'll show it, but it has it says Tamlin's Tears on it, and we were like recently talking about Tamlin and the ACOTAR stuff together, and I thought it was perfect for her. So I sent that off to her. And then another trend of mine is another audiobook that I recently listened to and I loved and wanted a physical copy. So this one is Always Only You by Chloe Leese. Again, going about the neurodivergent conversations, disability conversations, stuff like that. I really love the conversations in this book. Of course, it's like a like a cute romance where I'm like, love is real. So I'm glad to have this copy in my collection now. Next up, I went to Hedgie's Books, Toys, and More. Yeah, Hedgie's Books, Toys, and More in Bedford, Iowa. Another place that I didn't know about. And side note, when I was doing this little day trip, I did not realize how close I was to Missouri when I was heading down there. I was so close to Missouri. It was just like, oh yeah, like it would just be like a nice quick trip to the South Isle, then I'll scoot back up. It took so much longer than I thought. It was so much longer. I also, like something I learned like last week with my therapist is like people with ADHD, they have trouble like calculating how much time it takes to do things. And I think this is like one of those instances where it popped up. It's just like, ooh, yes, I screwed up the timing of things. But anyway, so I went to Hedgie's, and it was a very cute bookstore. Again, one of those bookstores that have to be like a catch-all for everything since it's in such a small town. And when I got there, they had like a nice wine selection, and I opted to get some wine that was recommended by the staff person that was working there tonight. I had a lovely time talking to the staff person. It was so great. She did offer me to like taste a wine before I buy it, and I decided not to. I was like, no, I trust you. And in hindsight, I should have tasted the wine. It's unfortunately one of those fruit wines that were more like too sweet for me. I like really dry wine, so in hindsight, it was not the best purchase for me, but I thought the store was really cute and I enjoyed my time there. The next place I went to is I went back up and I went to Grinnell to the Pioneer Bookshop. This is another one of those bookstores that I got kind of confused why it was included on the list. Though it did have like a decent size collection of like fiction and nonfiction books for like pleasure reading. Its main like source of income, or its like main product line, is items for the Grinnell College students. So it's like a college bookstore essentially. So I was a little bit worried when I saw that on the list if I was gonna find something there. But again, they did have a decent selection of like fiction and nonfiction books. Nothing that really screamed to me that I need to buy this right now. But they did have a ray gun sticker there, which says Thank a Pollinator on it. So it's cute. I love it. There we go. The last place I went to that day, I was so exhausted, but me and my stubbornness, I wanted to go to this newly opened bookstore, which was the Wandering Raccoon Bookstores in Grimes. I really wanted to go there. I actually first heard of them when they were still like a pop-up store situation. I went with this like previous like indie bookstore day that I went to. They had like a pop-up at like a bar, and I thought their selection was really nice, so I was very curious to see what their newly minted brick and mortar store was like, and it was really nice. It was nice in there. I'm more of a fan of this is very nitpicky, and like interiors of places shouldn't be like a big factor in determining places. I know that. I'm just a designer, so it's just something I think about. I like more warm colors and stuff like that, warm browns, something that's a little bit more homey feeling inside my bookstores, and they had more of the clean gray look in the bookstore, and it just, to me, it felt more sterile. But again, the more important thing was the selection of books that they had there, and they had a really good selection there. And when I got there, I got the first book in a series, Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. It's a really fun like romance trilogy with really nice writing to it. So I guess the theme of this book haul is that I got romance books. I don't know what's with me with that, but there we go. I got a lot of romance books, and I am proud to say that. All right, new day. This is one of those days I just went to one bookstore that's really quick to get. And the one I went to was in Boone, called the Book Shoppe, so I got a lot more books than I was anticipating to get there. So the Book Shoppe is like mostly used books. It has like a lot of those like trade paperbacks and stuff like that, which sometimes I can find like a good trade paperback, but that's usually not my go-to with books. I did find one copy of Animal Farm that I thought was a really nice, like cool looking edition, so I got that. I don't know where it is in my bookshelf over there. So you have to believe me that I got it. And then as I was saying, I was having kind of a bad day that day, and I went kind of crazy, and then I bought up like the rest of the ACOTAR series, like fully new price books. So it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna get them all. Oh well, I need to do some retail therapy. So it's the bookshop, a place that's a new favorite. Probably not. If I want to like waste like 30 minutes or something like that in nearby Boone, then I could go to there, but it's not necessarily the collection that caters towards me. So, oh right, next up is another day I went and tackled some of the North bookstores on the list. There was a lot of great places that I went to. I'm just pulling up my list here. The first one that I went to was Books and Bakery, which was in Carroll. And I thought it was a very cute little bookstore. The thing that impressed me the most is that they had a lot of like local artists, local craftsmen made pieces inside the bookstore. Again, another one of those like catch-all stores because they have to. But I like that special touch there. And then they had very specific like displays, like I think there's one display celebrating neurodiversity and things like that. And I thought that was really great. I really love the specificity in a bookstore like that. And from there, I got, let's see here, is that what I got? Yes, I got a discounted copy of Ashley Parker Doesn't Fail by, again, Ashley Herring Blake. It's another romance that I loved. Now completing my series. The reason why it was discounted is that it got like a little bit munched on the corner there. I really don't care if it's munched on the corner. So I want my books to be read. I don't care how exactly it looks. So it was a great find to find a discount for that to help me complete the series. Next up is basically a new favorite of mine. I fell in love with this bookstore. I just wish it was like closer to me so I can go to it more often. And that bookstore is the Green Dragon Bookshop in Fort Dodge. Oh, I love a bookshop that has a very specifically curated collection there. They have sci-fi, they have fantasy, they have horror. That's it. And it's so good. I found so many great things when I was there. Like it felt like a bookshop that's like so curated towards me. And I had a lovely time talking to the shop owner there. I had a blessing day. Blessed day. It was so fun being there. I was so tempted to buy one of the stuffies that they had there. It was so cute, but I restrained myself a little bit. The things that I got there, I got a couple things there. Let me pull it up here. So I got two books there. One is a horror book that I've been seeing making rounds online, and it sounded really interesting to me. It is The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. And I think I read a few pages. I really like the writing of it. I think what struck me, yeah, it's right here, is that it compared itself to Crying in H Mart, which is a memoir, and My Sister the Serial Killer, which is a fiction book that I really love too. And like having that like connection between a memoir and like a horror book like that, I'm just like, whoa, that is out of the park. I kind of really need to read this. It's about a serial killer. That's all you really got to know about that, and they have a preference for eyes. There you go. And then another book is a book I've never heard about, but I saw it on the shelf there, and like I read a little bit of the text, and I was really enamored by it, like immediately. It is called A Last Supper of Queer Apostles, Selected Essays by Pedro Lemebel. And it's translated by Gwendolyn Harper. Here's this beautiful cover there. It's like such a unique perspective to read about, and I love a good essay collection that I just had to take a chance and like buy that there. And then another thing that I bought there was I got like a really cute sword bookmark. It's somewhere in my bookmark over there. I might try to find later and put a picture up of it, but it's so cute. I loved it. I also got a reading list there of 50 queer books, which was really fun. They had a whole bunch of other reading lists there, like romances, like gen fiction and stuff like that. It would have been so cool if there's like a graphic novel one that this company made, but I don't know if they make it or not. But I wanted to get like a list like that after I finish up my classics challenge. So I started marking things on this list, and I love it. It's really great. New shopping day, I decided to wrap up the Central Iowa section on my passport and just get a couple of them banged out really quickly. Both these places I'll mention I've already been to before, and I both like them a lot. So the first one I'm going to be mentioning is, my list is wrong again. The first place I went to was back in the Des Moines area, and it's Reading in Public. I really do like Reading in Public. It's a really nicely designed interior, and they have a pretty decent collection there. There's some parts of the design on the interior that I kind of don't like. It doesn't seem like the most accessible space, because the shelves are like super tall, but they also have like really low level shelves too, that like you have to go on your knees in order to look at the books there. And to me, that doesn't read good design. Again, nitpicky. They do have a decent collection there. There's usually at least like one book that I'm like kind of interested in whenever I go there. Their highlight is they also have they make drinks there, like seasonal coffee and other beverages there. And I had one of their beverages there, first time getting a beverage there. It's one of their summer ones. I don't quite remember what it was, but it was quite tasty. I enjoyed it. And then I also got another book that I've been seeing going on the rounds online. It is called Unbecoming by Seema Yasmin. And it's a young adult books talking about the complexities of reproductive health and like the challenges currently going on with laws around that. I'm glad that a book like this exists, and I'm really excited to read it myself about it. All right, the next place I went to that day is another place I've already been to, is called Dungeons Gate. Again, they have a nice curated selection of like fantasy, sci-fi, horror books. Love it. It's so great. I've already been there before. Their like main highlight is they have a lot of games, a lot of board games, a lot of card games. That's like a big chunk of their income is from selling games and having tournaments and stuff like that. But they do have a nice, decently sized collection of books and graphic novels there. So that's really lovely. Highlights of it is I think I talked to like the shop owner. I think it's one of the shop owners. There is like an off day, so they were just like talking about stocking and things like that, and I 100% got schmoozed by them. I got so many books from them. I just couldn't help it. She gave really good recommendations, and the collection there was really great, and I wanted to support them, so I just went to town. Oh, you're okay, honey. I know, I'm blocking the way. You can get up here if you want. Oh, okay, it's fine. So I got several books, and I'll put pictures of the ones that I just didn't want to grab right now. So the ones I got were Station Eternity by Amir Lafferty. This is such a lovely cover, but it's basically a sci-fi mystery with like basically a detective trying to like solve things on like, I think it's a spaceship. And I discovered when I saw this book that like this is a subgenre that I need more in my life. Another book that I got there that's been on my list that the library doesn't have, but I was really curious to read it. It's called The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. It's like another like one of those classic like cozy fantasy books. And it sounds really cute. So I'm so glad to find that there. Oh, I got a graphic novel, which is somewhere buried over there on my shelf, called Under Kingdom. I'll put a picture up, and it has like the author name there. And I thought the art was really fun and interesting. So I took a chance and I bought that one there as well. And then I was recommended to me, one book that was recommended to me by the shop owner or the shop worker was The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Caw, which is a short horror novella that I've seen making rounds online. I wasn't sure if I was gonna be you're so sleepy, baby. I wasn't sure if I was gonna take a stab at it, but I was schmoozed to all hell and back. Like she did such a great job. I was just like, you know what, I need to buy this for myself. And I also go to like a horror book club at Dog-Eared, and I know they've talked about this book as well, so I'm excited to give it a go. Let's see here. Ooh, and the other highlight, I finally met their shop dog. It is the cutest little pug ever. Oh my gosh, that dog was so cute. I got so many snuggles and pets from them. I wanted to meet this dog because online they like whenever there's new releases that were in the store, they give Olive, that's her name, Olive, like a little snack. It's just like, here you go, Olive, and then they're like, all right, here's the new books that came out, and I'm just like, I wanted to meet this Olive so badly, and I'm so glad I finally did. Okay, and the last bookstore I'm gonna talk about, basically it was like one last one that I went to. I got on the way up to a trip to Okoboji in September. I was getting kind of weary of going to a whole bunch of different bookstores, so this kind of became like the end of it for me. For this passport journey. So I decided to swing up to the Book Vine in Cherokee, Iowa. In hindsight, it was kind of more out of the way than I thought it would be for like getting up to Okoboji, but it was a nice, cute store. It was definitely another one of those catch-all stores that has to support themselves the way they have to. They did have a really nice collection of games, and they also had a really nice collection of wine there. With their books, I wasn't really too impressed with the collection of the books. They did have some used books, which was quite nice. I love when a bookstore has that, but none of the books really spoke out to me, or if there's one there, I wanted to wait until like a paperback copy came out of it. But since I was going up to see family, one thing reminded me that I love to play games with my family, and we usually play dominoes together, and so I bought my own set of dominoes to have at my house, so if family comes visit me, we can do that there. All right, that's it. So those are all the bookstores that I went to. Let me do a quick count to see how many I actually went to. I went to 20 bookstores. That's impressive. There were so many more other bookstores that are on the list that I couldn't get to. I think one of note that I was kind of interested in going to, let's see here. Yeah, it's the HEA Book Boutique in Marion. That one's more of like a pop-up shop, but it's another specific like romance bookstore option here in Iowa. That one sounded really interesting. And then another one I've heard good things about was, I think it was Paper Moon in McGregor. As well as, oh yeah, Alter Ego Comics in Marion, which obviously is a comic store. So I'm gonna keep my list around just so if I want to do more day trips, I have options that I can go to in the future. My favorite thing that I got during this journey is, I think honestly, I love the spread of books that I got at the Haunted Bookshop. I was like so pleasantly surprised with what was there, and made friends with a cat. I think that whole entire spread was my favorite thing that I got during my little trips. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna do a ranking. I'm just gonna do like a top 3. I'm gonna do 2 sets of top 3. One set is like my overall top 3, and then the other set is top 3 of bookstores that are new to me, that I would recommend that you all go to. So the ones that are new to me, my top 3 of those are going to be number 1, the Green Dragon Bookshop in Fort Dodge. Loved it. Number 2 is the Haunted Bookshop in Iowa City. And then the third one is, well, you can't go to it anymore, is That's What She Read in Mount Ayr. Rest in peace. If I had to include another one that was new to me, that is still around, it would be the Book Vault in Oskaloosa. But my overall top 3, I don't think anyone's surprised with my top 3, is number 1 is Dog-Eared Books here in Ames. That's still my bread and butter. I love Dog-Eared so much. Number 2 is the Storyhouse Bookpub in the East Village in Des Moines. Again, another like hardcore favorite of mine. I always have like great conversations with the staff that work there. Everything's so great. I love their collection there, and the East Village is really fun to look around and explore. And then number 3 is the Green Dragon Bookshop. I fell in love with that place. I love the interior of it. So stuffed with books but organized. Lots of green plants in there. Friendly conversations with the staff. Lots of cute stuffies. I fell in love with that shop. I want to give some shout outs to, of course, Beaverdale. I love Beaverdale so much. Such like a classic indie bookstore in Beaverdale. And then, of course, the Haunted Bookshop. I loved it in there. If I went on another day and didn't find as many books, maybe it would be a little lower on the list, but just for the vibes in there, I thought was fantastic. And the last one I'll shout out is Dungeons Gate, because I got that whole haul there. So I was easily schmoozed. They did their job. I was influenced, so. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm talking about different bookshops here in Iowa. I love indie bookstores. I love Iowa. It was such a joy to do this challenge this summer. And I really hope that they do something like that next summer too. Hopefully with more options closer to me. But of course, like if I didn't live in central Iowa, it would have been a lot harder to do this challenge if I'm in like eastern or western and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, so which ones were your favorite bookstores if you've been to some of these, or from what I've showed you, what's your favorite indie bookstore? Let me know, okay? And then again, like a normal YouTube creator thing, like, comment, subscribe. That's really helpful to me. But yeah, I'll see you next month for next month's video, okay? Okay. All right. You have a good one, okay? Bye-bye.